Good evening, everyone. How are you? It's nice to see you here on Friday, July 17th. How is everybody doing today? How's your day going? Or whatever part of your day you're in. I'm in New York, so it's 6 p.m. and looking forward to dinner time and had a very productive day, wonderful day. Hey, Kip, how are you? So great to speak to you just now. So, yeah, Charles, you liking YouTube better than Facebook? I want to know not why. Yeah, I think, yeah, makes me nervous too. Yeah, good to see you here. So, you know what I thought, as I'm very excited, as everybody is, that, we may see that museums are going to be open later this summer. And, they deserve a lot of our attention. It's been a huge burden for museums financially and at their best, they really do. I mean, there's a lot to be said for things when they're not at their best, but at their best, they really are amazing cultural institutions in which people like me and you, I know, find a complete respite and ultimately find ourselves there. And it's been a real loss to be away from them and for us to be away from them and then for them to be away from us. And I know that they feel it too, because I'm involved with so much museum staff and everybody's suffering it. So tonight I wanted to take a look at the Morgan Library. It's one of my favorite places. It's a wonderful museum. I'm very excited this spring. I was supposed to do a project with them that ultimately got canceled, but I heard from them recently. When I say recently, I mean yesterday, that we will be working together again, soon. So that's very, very nice to know. And I'm very excited to be working with them. So let's talk a little bit about the Morgan Library and this wonderful museum that it is. I want to get to the history of the Morgan and talk a little bit about it because like the Frick, it's kind of this museum that has to do with the Gilded Age and a robber baron or a captive in industry, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. So what I love about it is, first of all, this is the very modern, contemporary addition to it. And I hope I have an exterior shot of the original. Please let me put this in. I'll show you an exterior shot of the original after. So this was added several years ago. Actually, the exterior shot that you could see very close to it, the building that's lit up in purple, is the original building of the Morgan Library. I have it here. And so the original building is this, like I was talking, is any of my students on the feed tonight, they will tell you the type of architecture. You guys, we had a great day in the park yesterday with Song Shin teaching. This is the original architecture, right, of this. Hey, Boo Boo is here, my friends. And so this may be buffering a little bit. Yes, just in time. I miss being able to acknowledge folks without posting. Otherwise, yeah, I agree with you there. Hey, Arlene, how are you? Good to see you. So, Eleanor, do you remember what type of architecture this was that we talked about yesterday? We were in front of the New York Public Library, and we called it a particular type of architecture that's very significant to the United States. Yeah, number one, we have Ionic columns. Beautiful. What kind of arch is this? Do you remember what the arch is here? So we have this very classical architecture. And then, my friends, you keep going with that. Ionic columns, what kind of arch do you see there in that rounded arch? This is the addition to the Morgan. So I love the way the two buildings work together. And what they have done at the Morgan is taken what could be a very staid place and brought it to life and brought it into this century. Oh my God, Eleanor, Romanesque. I'm so proud of you. Do you remember the architectural style I said it was? It starts with a V. So proud of you. So let's read a little bit about it. A complex of buildings in the heart of New York City, the Morgan Library and Museum began as a private library for financier Pierpont Morgan, the name. And he lived from 1837 to 1913, one of the preeminent collectors and cultural benefactors in the United States. As early as 1890, Morgan had begun to assemble a collection of illuminated literary and historical manuscripts, early printed books, and old master drawing and prints. So at this time, Frick and Morgan and people that are really making a lot of money in this new industrial age of steel and such, and the railroads and such, and financing are starting to seriously collect. And so they leave us with an amazing space. And when you go in, so you have that kind of that whiteness of this contemporary world, and then you step back in time, which is so magnificent to do. And I cannot wait to go in again. It's also one of my favorite books, one of my favorite gift shops. I love museum gift shops, you friend. Very good, Eleanor. It's vernacular. Very good. You got close enough. That's close enough. That's phenomenal. So Mr. Morgan's library, as it was known in his lifetime, was built between 1902 and 1906, adjacent to his New York residence on Madison Avenue and 36th Street. Designed by Charles McKim of the architectural firm McKim, Mead and White. That's the major fancy firm at the time. The library was intended as something more than a repository of rare materials. Majestic. I don't think so. That's a great question, Charles. I do not think it was built by enslaved people in New York, although it could have been indentured servants. But that's a good question. I cannot answer that fully as a full-throated no. Great question. But it is after slavery, so it could be it's the North. We're not dealing with sharecroppers, but we're probably dealing with people who are not being paid what their due is. But I do have to say that a lot of people, the people that were asked to work on new buildings in New York in this time frame between the 1890s and the early 1920s and continuing are the Native Americans, because they understand how to build so well on this land. It's their land. So let's take a look. The library was intended as something as a repository of rare materials, majestic in appearance, yet intimate in scale. The structure was to reflect the nature and stature of its holdings. And I have to tell you, when you enter it, you feel the stature. You feel it succinctly and beautifully. The result was an Italian Renaissance style palazzo with 3 magnificent rooms epitomizing America's age of elegance. Completed 3 years before McKim's death, it is considered by many to be his masterpiece. In 1924, 11 years after Pierpont Morgan's death, his son, J.P. Morgan Jr., who lived from 1867 to 1943, known as Jack, realized that the library had become too important to remain in private hands. And this is really where philanthropy becomes important in America, because collecting on this level should not be for private collections. It's not that they shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a law. But yeah, don't you love them, Marlene? All the gift shops worldwide. I agree with you. But when someone leaves their collection to a public, it enhances the public. The ability for the public to really be educated and to be cultured. So it's extremely important. There's a lot we can say about all of these people who made this level of money and such, but that it's left to us is very, very important. It's interesting because neither Morgan nor Frick were able to enjoy their homes to a great extent of their own lives. Excuse me. It will constituted one of the most monumentous Momentous, I want to say monumentous, but this is momentous, cultural gifts in U.S. history. He fulfilled his father's dream by making the library and its treasures available to scholars and the public alike by transforming it into a public institution. And it is magnificent. Look at this ceiling. It is just standing in this room is really spectacular. Just standing in front of this fireplace. I miss this so much. One of the things I find tricky in this room is that you really don't feel very close to the books. But of course, they have to keep them at a distance, right? It's a public space. It can easily be destroyed. Vernacular. There it is, boo-boo. So, let's read on because I really love this. And I love the direction it's going into. Over the years, through purchases and generous gifts, the Morgan Library and Museum has continued to acquire rare materials as well as important music manuscripts, early children's books, Americana, and materials from the 20th century. Without losing its decidedly domestic feeling, meaning it was his house, right? The Morgan also has expanded its physical space considerably. In 1928, the Annex building was erected on the corner of Madison and 36, replacing Pierpont Morgan's residence. The Annex connected to the original McKim Library by means of a gallery. In 1988, Jack Morgan's former residence, a mid-19th century brownstone on Madison Avenue and 37th Street, was also added to the complex. In 1991, a garden court was constructed as a means to unite the various elements of the Morgan campus. The largest expansion in Morgan's history, adding 75,000 square feet to the campus, was completed in 2006, designed by Pritzker Prize-winning architect Renzo Piano. This is what I showed you earlier. And he really brings it into, right, the 21st century. And it's really so beautiful. This light in this space is so beautiful. And then to move from this light to this light feels sublime. It feels not just from the architecture, but from the light itself that you're moving backward in time. The light does that. It's really fantastic. The project increases exhibition space by more than 50% and adds important visitor amenities, including a performance hall, a welcoming entrance on Madison Avenue, a new cafe, which I love, and a new restaurant, which I love a lot, and a reading room and collection storage. Piano's design integrates the Morgan's 3 historical buildings with 3 new modestly scaled steel and glass pavilions. A soaring central court connects the buildings and serves as a gathering place for visitors in the spirit of the Italian piazza. What I love is what they did in this building. This is another one of the older rooms. It does have a cathedral feeling, Charles, in that room, in this room with the vaulted ceiling and the paintings. Yeah, it does have that. That's really great. That's so cute. Wait, what did Arlene said? I can't believe I've never been there. I should be ashamed. It's okay, Arlene. I love what Boo Boo says. It's okay, Miss Arlene. Right, Miss Arlene Boo Boo? It isn't the most important. It's not the most popular library. Well, you'll go back now, Arlene. Right? And this is a time in reopening to reimagine our lives. And there's amazing art in this room. This was his reading room. Right? This was his study. It's Boo Boo. That's so cute. That's so cute. Look at this room. And Arlene, seeing the art in this room is sublime. Like the Frick, right? I'm going to show you the ceiling again. It's just awe-inspiring. What I love, here's his study. Here's a piece of his study. Yeah, just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. It's just one of my favorite. And I just love sitting in the center halls and things and just reading. This is awe-inspiring. Yeah. And then, yeah, the statues are like that at a museum. That's exactly right. what I love was recently, well, not so recently, I can't remember the date on it. What did I do with them? I don't have them here. Is Xu Bing. You all know Xu Bing. He was the artist that did, the amazing, beautiful, phenomenal. I'll think of it. Phoenix at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. He did an amazing piece in this museum. It was this piece. Look at it here. This is not in the museum. This is not at, this one is not at the Morgan Library. But I want you to look at it when it's placed in the Morgan Library in this. Where did it go? Let me see if it's here. I'm sorry. I don't know where my download went of that one. All right, you have to give me a second. I'm going to find it, everybody. You know what Jean says when I do things like this. God almighty, she's driving me crazy. It becomes this incredible piece. Let me just give me one more second. And that's what I'm loving about the Morgan Library, is that they're taking on contemporary artists in a new way and juxtaposing them with these incredible manuscripts and these rare materials. And so we're seeing cultures and time frames come together. And that's really extraordinary to me, that we could see it together as one. And it's really important for us visually to be able to see that. So take a look at this. So Xu Bing did all of these musical notes, his own language of music, because this is also a music hall. And sitting in the cafe is right near here. Well, the cafe is here. And all of this is just suspended in air in the Renza Piano building. And you could sit there. I've had many lunches with critics there, enjoying that. And then after I have my stressful lunches with critics, then going into a more quiet space to reflect on my own. What I love that they're doing is not only Xu Bing's work, but they have a commitment to contemporary art. So let's look at the lineup for this fall. And those of us who haven't gotten there already, no worries. This is the opportunity now, as these museums reopen and reemerge, to say, yeah, this is important. We have to take a trip there. Betty Saar, Call and Response. Well, you know, the New York Historical Society had a phenomenal exhibit of Betty Saar. And I did a Betty Saar book on smART stART recently. And we saw her notebooks and the way she drew. And so this is going to be amazing to see Betty Saar's notebook. How about David Hockney, Drawing from Life? Phenomenal. And then Poetry and Patronage in L'Aubespine Villeroy Library Rediscovered. So you have these older books and these newer artists, well, not even newer artists, but this look at manuscripts and artist book on a different level. So it's really phenomenal. That's a good question about the ceiling, Charles. Is it Greek mythology? I think it's more in Roman, because this is really considered a building in the Roman palazzo style, vernacular, but I think we're looking more at Roman imagery up here. Yeah, but a beautiful coffered ceiling and painted in a lot of gold, right, from the Byzantine. Yeah, really something. So it's emerged as, you know, the Morgan Library. And I'm not surprised that you haven't been there, Arlene, because it's, you know, these institutions became staid. They became just that, institutions that housed rare manuscripts, and they kind of fell out of fashion as, you know, these Gilded Age robber barons, white guys. But they have ponied up in a new way as younger curators come in. One of the projects that I was going to do with them this spring, which I was so honored to be invited to do. You just can't imagine the level of honor I felt. I I basically, I'm going to go to my full screen to talk to you guys. I basically took the entire day off from all of the other, my work streams that, and I had a lot going on that day. I was asked to spend the day. The museum makes all of their educational programs free to the public schools. They have a phenomenal grant. And so they wanted children, especially those in underserved communities, to understand illuminated manuscripts and then to create their own. And I was asked to be on a panel of educators and curators and art professionals to see this, to have the students present their work to us and to not so much jury the work, but to talk to the kids about it and to encourage them and think about going into careers in museum work and artwork and such. And it was just going to be one of the highlight days for me. And unfortunately, COVID hit. But I'm really excited about doing it again with them, hopefully for next year, depending upon where we are at this juncture. So, yeah. What are the difference between Roman gods and Greek gods? I think Boo Boo knows that answer. Roman gods, for example, let me see if I can get this right. Odysseus in Greek becomes Ulysses in Roman. And in many ways, Charles, to answer a question, Greece and Rome at this time that you're talking about are polytheist societies, so they believe in many gods. And really, though, their gods are from mythology, and they all start out in many ways as everybody's trying to figure out the world in which they live in. So there's a lot of that notion of the origin story. So the gods, the Roman gods, really kind of co-opt the Greek gods. These stories are passed down in storytelling, but also in Greece, theater becomes incredibly important. And Boo Boo can tell you that because she worked on Greek theater today. And so it's a way of telling these stories. And you know the stories. Oedipus Rex, Antigone. Well, Antigone's a different story, but who is it? Achilles, you know, and they become moral stories and such. So the Romans kind of co-opt that. Oh, good Lord, I hope I got that right. That's off the cuff. Hope I said, if I got it wrong, please correct me, everybody. So I am very much looking forward to the reopening and the rediscovering of all of our great museums. Yeah, next week we'll look at another one. I want to look at some obscure ones, even ones I very rarely get to. Let's take a deep dive into some museums. All right, guys, I hope everybody has a really great weekend. I can't believe it's the weekend again already. It's going to be very hot in New York, so luckily I have a lot of work to do right at my desk. Yeah. How does this art make you feel in terms of the Roman art and such? I like it. I studied in Rome, so I really love all the different periods and times of art. I truly do. So for me, going there and seeing and being in that room, being in the main manuscript room is really awe-inspiring. It's just tremendous. It's just tremendous. The reds and the golds and that fireplace alone I'm dwarfed in size compared to that fireplace. So it's really beautiful, but equally, to your point, Charles, being in this space, I feel equally as energized, living in the current. So yeah. You, Kip. Yeah, we will meet there, Boo Boo. We absolutely will once it opens again. So everybody, have a phenomenal weekend. Whatever you're doing, stay safe. It's so crazy out there. And yeah, it will all be good. And I will see you all on Monday. Have a great one. Oh, wait, I wanted to go this way. So, yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. And definitely go online and check out the Morgan online. They have a lot of great stuff online. They definitely do. The museums have put a lot online now. And I'm going to look at that in greater depth next week, especially with the Met, because what they've done on their online programming is revolutionary, in my opinion. So, yeah, great, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.